Good morning. Right, here we are, week 203. Right, let me just feed the fish. And this is just normal mix of mysis and blood shrimp, blood worm even. Look at them, like they've never been fed. Right, so I've actually got some stuff to talk about this week. So where shall I start? I think the first thing I should say is tanks all right. I've got my 3D printed mount for my Abyzz pump that I bought from Steve, the East Coast Reefer, who I met at one of my local outposts, AAC. And it is, if you look at that image, it is now sitting in the tank, in the bottom corner, pushing the water up to the surface and all the way along into the weir, which is exactly what I wanted. So we printed it at a 35-degree angle, and it is working a treat. So that's that. So he printed it so that I can have my little name insert. There's a bit on the back where you can push these in. So he printed me two. He printed me this one, and he printed me another one. Slightly different name on the other one, but yeah. So fantastic job. Very happy with it. Yeah. So I just sit that in back corner. Other than the massive orange cable in the corner of the tank, can't really see it. It's probably about as secreted as I can get it, to be honest. Yeah, so hopefully that just sit there and do its job. Thinking two would be nice. Get one this end, but yeah, we'll see. I like it. I'll see how I get on with it. I'll see how it sort of works out, like cleaning and things. You can spin the rotor the other way to push the stuff out the slots. Yeah, so I'll just see. But at the moment, very happy with it. It pulls very low wattage as well. So I think I'm running it on random, on a sort of ramp up, ramp down, random flow, and it's going from like 50 to 70. I had it on 80%, and it was pushing water out the top of the tank and over the back edge. So I had to turn it down, because when it kind of ramps up, it creates like a big sort of ball of water on the top, and it was just going all over the back of the tank. So I was like, not good. I should probably get under there and clean it at some point. But yeah, so I've turned it down to 70, seems to be the maximum without splashing water out the tank on that angle. But yeah, it's good. So I've done that. So thank you very much to Steve, East Coast Reaper, for printing that off. Brilliant. What else? I have plumbed the sump. So the sump is plumbed. I have one joint to do, but I can't technically do that joint until I'm ready to sort of fill it all up with salt water from the tank, because the that joint is on the ball valve, which currently goes to that tank down there. And basically all I want to do is turn the ball valve out, unscrew the top, and then screw on the new flexible pipe that comes up to this sump onto the ball valve, and then turn it on, which means that tank down there will get no flow to it, because it's going to be redirected up to here. So I'm going to fill that up with RO and leave it to soak for a week or so, drain it down before I fill it properly. I'm using a Red Sea 50 light down there over that tank, but this is obviously, it's bigger. Might be the same depth, might be a bit deeper, I'm not sure. But I've got a spare XR15, which I think I'll put over there. I've got a G4 XR30 knocking around somewhere as well, but I think it needs to be fixed. So I might send it off at some point. So I've got another spare light. So yeah, so basically the contents of that tank down there will come up, I'd imagine, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then I can start working on my sump down there, really. So yeah, so what else have I done? I've also, oh yeah, I'll tell you what I've done. So this is, well, yeah, it's interesting. I can't remember how long ago, But a good few months ago, I killed off my really nice, can't remember what that was, I think it might have been a millie. I had a really nice colony growing on the top of the rock over there. It was kind of, I don't know, like 6-7 inches across. Grew out the frag. I don't know if you remember, I said that I dropped my light rack down, completely down, and then I forgot to put it up and I left it there, and I thought that was the reason that that coral stripped and died. But now, because at the same time I left the lights down, I cleaned out my biopellet reactor, and I've just done the same thing again. And when I don't know why, but when last time I cleaned it out, this time I just made a mistake. I messed up the flow going through it, because it comes off of a manifold off the A400 pump. So it goes to the biopellet reactor, it goes to the small tank down there, it goes to my skimmer, and it goes to my UV. So they're all on the manifold off of the Abyzz pump. And I don't know why, but I was working on something and it forced a lot more flow through my biopellet reactor than normal. And I just noticed the water was just full of particulates. Just, you know, you go, Christ, what's happened there? I don't have a sand bed, so it's the sort of look you get when your RAS goes mental and kicks up tons of sand into a power head. Yes, I was just going, wow. And then the next day the corals looked very sulky, and they've got progressively more sulky over the last week. Some of them look, some of them look dead. So I've definitely lost one. It's just stripped out. My millie at the back looks rough as. So yeah, so I think I've had like a bacterial bloom because I've dumped a load of the mold that you get in the biopellet reactor into the tank. And that's what I did last time. And last time it done that millie. This time possibly looks like it could do that one. So there's no point keep making the same mistake, is there? So I was using the Deltec, I think it's a, I don't know, 2 litre, 3 litre, 4 litre, I don't know how big it is. Basically it's not big enough for me to get enough biopellets in there to control the nitrates in the tank, because they clump together. So they move at one part, but the back will all clump together, and I can never get them all moving together nicely how I want them, because I think the reactors, well, there's just too many pellets in there. I'm trying to pack too many pellets in the reactor basically. So I've gone, right, I'm scrapping that. So I've reduced the amount of biopellets right down. I've gone back to my little Royal Exclusive. I think it's like a little 2 litre reactor. I've got a very small number of pellets in there, so they're all moving properly. And I think I will probably remove it completely. And I have added, to compensate for that, I've added another skimmer in my sump. So I've got this big boy up here, and then I've got my old Deltec, I can't remember, 2060, does that sound right for Deltec skimmer? I did my 1,000 litre system on my first tank in the office, and it works fine. And it's down there, and it just fits in the sump. I mean, the sump is pretty tight with that in it as well. I mean, initially that was one of the things I was going to do when I expanded the sump down there. When I get the extra capacity, I was going to run another skimmer anyway. I thought I'd either run that Deltec or I'd buy maybe a bigger one, and I was going to put the ozone into that, because that skimmer, I don't know how much they are to buy, but it's like a 1/6 of the price of the Bubble King. I thought I'd rather put the ozone for a cheaper skimmer, to be honest, than break a very expensive one. I mean, I meant to be able to handle ozone, but if I got the choice, why take the chance? So that's gone in there, and that is working a treat. It's pulling out a lot, quite a wet skim on it. And the other thing that I sort of thought about was my constant sort of pH battle with this tank. Is most people, like the vast majority of people, have internal skimmers which they run in their sump, which is right next to where the probe for the pH is. And I suddenly thought, well, if I put the skimmer in the sump, there's the skimmer skimming, there's the probe like 6 inches away. It's probably going to be good for the pH. Now, whether that's an artifact of the fact that the probe is just near the skimmer and it makes no difference to the actual pH of the whole water in the tank, I'm not sure. I'll have to put a pH probe in the tank, wouldn't I? but just putting that skimmer in the sump has bumped my pH considerably. So I've done a little, you know, I like to do little experiments. So I've cut all of my alk dosing. So each day it's steadily dropping, but I'm dosing no calc and I'm dosing no sodium carbonate. So there's no alk going in the tank at all. And I've managed to do that for 3 days. I mean, it is dropping, but it's not dropping anywhere to a level that's concerning. And the pH is still higher. It's a lot higher than it was when I tried bolus. That was just a nightmare for pH. And it's getting to about 8.15 and it's dropping to about 7.95. Now, a lot of you go, that's horrendous, but that's with no dosing of any alkalinity at all in the tank. So I think when I go back to putting the calc back online, it should be a big bump, and I think it should keep me well above the 8 as a low, which is all I want, really. That's all I want. I like it to be 8 and above 24 hours a day. So yes, that works well. And obviously the skimmer's just easier maintenance, really. I like the biopellets. They are probably as low maintenance as you could get. The trouble is they're so low maintenance that I don't check them enough. So my maintenance on them is not good. And by the time I go, oh, I need to have a look at those, I pulled that reactor out. Oh, the stuff that was in there, it was just nasty, really. So I think I will move away from that. I've also massively reduced my carbon dosing as well, because I checked my nitrates and I sent an ICP off last week just to check the tank because it was looking rough, and I wanted to just check it wasn't something inorganic that I could fix, but it was bacterial, I think. So the ICP come back perfect. Well, not perfect. It come back fine. My traces, some of my traces, normally I have low traces anyway. I've got less low traces than I have normally, so my dosing of the traces is going in the right direction. But yeah, there was nothing in there. Even the lampion was low, actually, so there was, you know, nothing nasty. Yes, so I just want to be careful that I don't strip out too much with 2 skimmers. So they said my nitrates were at 23. The skimmer's been on a few days since then. I checked them on just the normal salivate test. They looked like they were somewhere between 10 and 15. So they look like they're trending down, which is quite nice because it's easier, really, isn't it, to just, if things are trending down, it's easier to make changes to stabilise them or bring them up, really, often than it is to stop something from continually climbing. But I mean, when I set this tank up and I spoke to Royal Exclusive, they told me not to get that skimmer because I used everything goes through the filter fleece. There's no bypass, so all the contents of the tank go through the filter roller, and that fleece has been running, you know, 24/7 for the 4 years the tank's been up, really, and 3 years probably. I didn't have it on at the beginning, so I use that continually for all the water, and I skim with that 24/7 as well. And the nitrates were still at like 30, and I was just going, they're still quite, I mean, I've got a lot of fish, I feed a lot. So that extra skimmer seems to be doing the trick. So I just want to make sure I don't bottom them out, obviously. So it's on, that skimmer's on full blast, that Deltec, like maximum at the moment. It's skimming very wet. So I have the ability to turn it down, which is easy enough to do. And they're quite easy to maintain, aren't they, skimmers, really? So hopefully, if I can just run 2 skimmers and the lampion for the phosphate, and I will get my ozone back online at some point. It'd be nice if I could just run the tank like that, really. It's super simple. And then I put a bit of calcium hydroxide in and some sodium carbonate to do the alk. I'm dosing calcium and magnesium, just my own mixtures. So my magnesium I've now pulled back to 200 ml a day. I've been dosing months and months and months worth of magnesium at 3 to 350 ml a day, and the ICP come back. I think it said it was It's about 1380, 14, something around there. So I'm dosing 200 ml of that a day. And then my calcium is around 380, 400, which is where I want it. And I'm just dripping that in really slowly on a Kamala pump, but I think it's about 0.2 millilitres a minute. Yeah, so that's it really. So other than the fact that I've kind of bombed my tank with a massive bacterial bloom, and there's a lot of salty corals. I mean, there's a lot of not salty corals, but some of them look very salty. So yeah, that's about where we are really. So yeah, so the sump's nearly done. And I've been looking forward to actually getting that extra capacity down there, because that existing sump, especially up at the skimmer in it, is busy. Yeah, I think that's it really. So that will be it for the next few weeks. I'll get the sump sorted. And yeah, hopefully I've got to chop some corals back actually, because the ones that aren't sulking have grown and they're starting to grow into each other. It's surprising actually, when you look from the front, you don't necessarily see what's going on. And I looked from the end the other day and I noticed my Satosa's like grown across and is now competing with my Turbinaria. I've got a coral over the back, I don't know what it was, like some green staggy thing which is being killed off by the Digi. So I need to get in there and hack some stuff out. I'm going to chop out a big chunk of that a big chunk of my purple stylo, because that is probably 2 foot across, I reckon. So I'm going to chop a big lump of that out and I'm going to take it to AAC for them. Yeah, so that is kind of where we are. So I'm hoping with the extra skimmer and removing the biopellets and greatly reducing the amount of carbon dosing that I'm doing. Did I mention that? So I've reduced the carbon dosing as well, because I make my own just out of RO vodka and vinegar, mix it up, and because the nitrates are trending down, obviously I'm reducing that as well. And I think I've gone from, I think at the most I was dosing 60 ml a day, and now I'm down at 25. So I'll keep an eye on the nitrates and see how they trend, and hopefully, never know, 2 skimmers may be enough that I don't have to do any of that. So it's oh, the other thing I was going to say, Jesus, thank you, soaked, is it's that time of year for pollen. It's funny because I was sitting in my house last week, just gazing out the window, chatting to my brother-in-law, and I looked at the tree, and I thought it was smoking. I was looking at it going, is that tree on fire? And I looked at it a couple of times. I went to my brother-in-law, I said, did you see that tree? I said, what is all that? And then it took me a while to realise it was every time the wind blew slightly, it was just the pollen coming off of all the cones, because it's a pine tree. And it looked like smoke. It was just plumes of pollen coming off. And yeah, it's that time of year. So I used to notice it a lot in my system in my office. Is sort of end of March, beginning of April. You always used to get cyano in the tank. This tank's much better, but I've noticed I've just got tiny little bits. I mean, I know a lot of people say it's down to pollen. Maybe it is, but it's definitely in my head. I went, there's a lot of pollen coming off those trees. I do suck my airline, my air from my skimmer. That skimmer there comes straight in. There's no filter, no carbon, anything. It just goes straight in. So I don't know whether that has an effect or not, or that could just be to the fact that I dumped a ton of bacteria from my biopellet reactor in the tank. It's very rare I get cyano in this tank. Something caused it. I mean, it's tiny amounts really, but you know what it's like when you see a bit of it and you just go, I hope it just stays a small amount and don't start getting outrageous. So we will see in the next couple of weeks. So I think that's it. I'm going to do a water change now, spawning tank's looking good. Oh, tank's looking good. I've lost one of the pipefish. Well, what? I haven't technically lost it. I found it. I found it all crispy on the floor. So I don't run a lid on that tank because it's quite restrictive to get into anyway at the best of times, because it's all blocked in. And then I put this sheet on the front at night, so it's completely blocked in. Yeah, so I've never run it with a mesh or something. I know I'm taking a chance. Yeah, I thought it was just, I mean, it's tiny, small fish anyway, and I thought it was like a bit of a stick or an old screw or something, and yeah, and I picked it up and just realised, oh, it's a dried out pipefish. So that's a bit gutting. That's my first fish loss for, God, years actually, I guess. So now I've got to work out what sex the one that in there is and try and get it a new partner. So I probably need to take a decent picture of it and show it to someone with better eyes, and they can work out what it is. So yeah, so a bit gutted, but I need to get some more fishing now. I can't decide what I want. I keep looking when I go to AAC on that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want something special or just, I don't know is the answer. You can't decide. So anyway, guys, that, oh no, one more thing. There's always a little one. Yeah, so I contacted yet another company about getting the head for my, and they did exactly the same. I can't think, this is, I can't remember the name of the company, Fisher something. I'm pretty sure it's actually the company that I bought the head from. Yeah, so I went to them, can you get me a new rotor head? And they went, oh, we need to know your official account details, who you work for. I was just like, no. So I'll probably just move on from that and just get 2 new heads for my Dostos and use that for my water changes. Because I don't know why it seems to be very difficult to spend money with some of these companies. Yeah, so that's where we are. So, and one last thing, nearly forgot. I only looked because that end of the room's a little bit tired in it. It's been the last 6 months. I remember months ago, I said that I had an electrical fault, and sort of 4 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock at night, the sockets on that side of the wall were all switching off, which meant all the lights were going dead, all the pumps were going dead. And I run a temporary extension lead, and I plugged in a couple of MP60s, my aircon unit and my fridge. Well, I put everything back other than the fridge. So it was the compressor on the fridge which was tripping out the electrics. So I don't actually use that fridge. There's nothing in that fridge that needs to be refrigerated. So it's just sitting there, not on. At some point I'll remove it, I guess. But yeah, so it means that that end of the fish room is now looking a bit more respectable without extension leads draped across and whatever. So yeah, so that was that. It was an easy fix, really. It's a very old fridge, to be honest. I thought it was the fridge, but I finally got around 6 months later into actually testing it. Yeah, so that is it. Yes, that's it, guys. I will see you in the next one.